So Wendy, we've got these your horses here in the background for us. So the question I have for you is how does SF or solution focus relate to working with horses? I mean, it just...
Well, actually everything. I knew the theory of SF, the background of SF, after I've been working with horses the way I do for a long time. And it was like coming home. Everything about horses and the way I work with them is SF. First of all, I think all nature is SF. Everything that is not SF in nature gets extinct, disappears. And for me, the way in which I work with horses, the relation to SF is that you're always looking for opportunities. What is going? What do you want? The clarity of it. The exploring together. It's all about SF. Having your attention open, seeing opportunities, choosing, making choices of what you really want. Be clear in it, and hence come to what I call connective clarity. And what is it? What do you mean? What is your message? What is my message? And constant exploration, continuous exploration of that. That is what, to me, the way in which I work with horses relates to SF. Starting from what do you want, and how to get there, what's already working, and let's build on it.
And what else? Anything else on that?
Yeah. So the horses they constantly keep me going. They're constantly looking for options, and I really have to be very clear, actually, to be very clear in a very unencumbered way. That's the core, I think, of what it brings.
So when I came into this sort of conversation, my thought was that there's SF and there's the horses, but actually, what you're saying is it's just I can't think of the word.
For me, it's when I got to know SF. I think now 2 years more, somehow more than 2 years ago. That's what I've been doing all the time. That is it. The horses taught me the core elements of SF, and afterwards, then I got to know. Okay, so that's the structure, but I continuously have to let my attention 360 degrees, looking for opportunities. They invented SF for me.
So Aoki-san would say they're SF inside.
Yes. Because SF, they live SF. It is more than a method, something you do. From them, I learned. Okay, it's a way. It's not something you do. It's a way of life. It's a mindset, which help you to see opportunities and to actually get things done in a way that is very together, to become meaningful. That's where it's all about. In order to become meaningful for a horse, which is the core, I don't want a horse to follow me. I don't want to control a horse. I invite a horse to say yes to what I offer, to what I invite it to, and that's just only one way in which that works with horses, and that is SF.
Thank you. So, who do you work with? I mean, you run Ikoya, you run a training company. Who's your audience for working with the horses? Is it leaders? In
general, there are a lot of much of what I do concerns leadership, and actually, leadership is always an element of it, because this way of working with horses is about how to become meaningful. So it requires leadership, in the first place, about yourself, taking responsibility of your own message, of your own behavior, taking ownership for your own message, for your own behavior. But it's about how to gain visibility for yourself, for your own message, but also for those who are in the position of leaders. How to have a dynamic team balance, team structure, how to be a leader instead of how to be a boss. So a lot is about leadership in general. And my audience so far, a lot of teams already, in how to keep a dynamic balance in the team, how to be clear about the goals, how to be very explicit about roles, who takes up what roles, how to be dynamic in the procedures, in finding effective procedures. So yeah, a lot of for leaders, also for individual people on assertiveness and being clear, and then the team dynamics, how to establish, how to make a kind of a herd out of your team, in which there is a real clarity on roles,
nice
but
metaphor.
not a clarity on roles, but no, not necessarily a clarity on positions. It's about roles.
How do you actually use SF when working with the horses? And I appreciate you said it's a state of mind, that it's in it's SF inside the horses.
Yes.
But from a listener's point of view, how would you actually say that you use SF explicitly so that people learn SF?
So I started doing it explicitly. It's a question I asked myself after getting acquainted with SF. Say, hey, what is it? What brings it to me? And it all starts with the mindset of interesting. You saw it already when we came here. The horses have this basic mindset of, hey, what's happening there? Interesting. So here it starts with, they are flight animals, but that doesn't mean that if there's something strange they just run away, but they start exploring it out of the mindset interesting. And I have 5 steps, 5 qualities actually, in which are directly connected with SF. And the first one is having your attention 360 degrees around. You see it on their ears. Their ears are constantly pointed to where their attention is, and they will not be focused too long, but they have to find out where is, aren't there any lions and tigers coming over? So they're constantly aware of their surroundings, and actually that is also what we do in SF. We don't focus on the problem, we don't focus on a solution, but we put on our radar. The mindset of how interesting is the start button for a radar, which leads to exploration. And attention 360 degrees is the first step, because because of the knowledge, there are always other possibilities. Maybe you don't see them, but there are many possibilities, and it's not putting your radar on and look for what other problems are there, but what are the options? So attention 360 degrees, what are the options? And that's what we are looking for in SF as well. And the second is, if you see all the options, if your radar is on, what do you choose? And in SF too, it's, for example, in the problem limitation thing, is if something is or a problem or a limitation and nothing in between. Often people are on kind of a roundabout. If only I had, should I do it? If only he had. And we are driving on a roundabout, and I've never seen a fuel station in the midst of the roundabout. So if you keep on driving on a roundabout, you're running out of fuel, and there you are. So in order to get off that roundabout, you always have to make a choice, and they always do something. You cannot be in between, and you can do only one thing at a time. So, and that's also with my link with SF, is that you, out of the options, you help people make choices, and you make them explore that choice. What if? It's also the choosing. It's also choosing for a desired future. And how do you see that desired future, and describe it? What are your best hopes? That is, choose your direction. And I see it as, I call it direction. I won't call it a goal, but direction leads to a destination to me. In nature, for example, a predator chasing a prey, that prey is a goal that he has to catch. But horses have taught me the difference between a goal and a destination. A destination, I use the image of the GPS. You put a specific an address in a GPS. You cannot say, take me to the mountains or take me to the sea, but the address, the street, and the number. And the more specific your destination, the higher the chance that you actually get there. And it's a destination because horses instinctively in their natural habitat, they are nomadic. They live a nomadic life, and they move around 35, 45 kilometers a day. And each year they go more or less to the same grass areas. And they choose more or less the same ways. But if they come to a place, to make it very simple now, where they could cross the river last year and there has been an avalanche and the road is blocked, they don't stand there, damn, someone has blocked the route here and cannot reach our goal because that way is blocked. But the grass area or the water is a destination, not a goal. So, and a destination, like in a GPS, if a road is blocked, then yeah, you can look for other roads. So they taught me that there is, to make the distinction between a goal and a destination. And also that's what we do in SF. Your desired state, your desired future is not a goal, it's a destination. And of course people need goals, short-term goals. But we make, I think, horses help me to set less goals, to make a distinction. What is goal, what is destination? So attention is the first one. Have your attention 360 degrees. Direction, what are your destinations, what are your goals? And the third one is power. They're really powerful animals. But if you, and I've been observing horses living in semi-wild state for some years. And what you see when you have stallions fighting, it's not force, it's not ego, it's not force, it's power. And you see young foals lying asleep a few meters away from their fight. They don't want, it's not about winning or losing, it's about really power measurement. So they, and also in SF, we are not the experts. We don't force people into a solution. We also, not the opposite, we also don't wait till anything happens or not. But it's about, it's about powerfully invite people to go along shoulder by shoulder.
Yeah, by asking the right questions.
By asking the questions, but asking the question not for pushing them towards an answer, but asking the questions to help them explore their own possibilities, to powerfully invite. And they told me a specific way of being patient. And that has a relation with power. You can have no patience, but then you end up in force. If I have no patience, I force you to do what I want. You can just have patience out of, I hope that something's going to happen, but then you're very passive. Or you can have patience because you know that things will happen. If you see the options, radar is on 360 degrees, if you know your destination, then you can powerfully invite to the what, but the how and the when, you cannot decide yourself because it has to be an interaction. What is the right time? What is the right way? So powerfully invite to the what and explore on the how and the why. So power is the third, and that brings us to the fourth, and that is thoroughness. And thoroughness is brings people to really take the small steps in solution focus, not the big ones, but the small ones. And it's the difference between reckless, just throw yourself into it and do something with it, or being too cautious. And in nature, both reckless and too cautious are not, well, very good qualities to survive with, because recklessness will just risk you to bump into death. And too cautious, well, actually cautiousness. Caution doesn't exist in nature. No monkey will jump through a tree cautiously, because cautious is, yeah, having in mind, your mindset is what can go wrong. Your attention is on what can that branch might break. I might fall there, and be cautious, and it keeps people back. And but what people are in nature is they are thorough, careful in the sense of full of care for undertaking their actions. So that's what they told me, to be really thorough. Out of overview, what do I want? A powerful invitation. What yeah, to find out what do you need in order to say yes. What are the actual small steps, and the small steps, not the big ones, but as in solution focused, the really small steps that lead you towards my message, that make you say yes. And the last one, we've had attention, we've had direction, we had power, we have thoroughness, and the last one is what I call real assertiveness. And real assertiveness is, they are constantly inviting you to it, because they will constantly test your qualities. And it is not at all to be taken personal. It's just information. They test you on with the fact, can I rely upon you? Can I build upon you? Can I trust you? If yes, okay. If no, then I find another solution. So it's this, they constantly invite you, challenge you, to answer the question, do I really mean this? What's my message? What's the naked message? Not the story around, but what's the naked message? And what do you actually mean? What do you actually want to say? And do you really mean this? And to see this test moments, if something goes wrong, if something doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, if someone misinterprets what you're saying, instead of judging, what do you say? It's not true. That's not what I meant. Going back to this mindset of interesting, you see differently, which brings us back by attention, direction, etc. And that brings us to what I call connective clarity. And in this constant exploration to connective clarity, everything is information. In SF, we are not going to judge people. We're just, everything they say is a potential present. Interesting. I mean, it's open for exploration again. Okay, and let's explore that part, and let's explore that part, and that brings us back to the starting point, and then we can start all over again. And so, for me, it's a one-to-one. I cannot do anything else than SF with horses, because it's just the way it is. Yeah, so they taught me SF. They are the real. They taught it.
I have to get them writing a book. Okay, so just leading on from the 5 qualities is so how do people benefit when they work with you and the horses? You know, what do those leaders get from this?
The feedback I get most, and I am very pleased with, is, actually, it is so simple, which doesn't mean it's easy, but it brings people in their behavior, in their message, back to basics. What is my core message? This clarity, and also the peace it brings. Being able to give the answer on what is it I actually want to say? What is it I actually mean? What behavior do I actually want? For example, in a lot of people have lousy feedback conversations because they have conversations in which go about what's going wrong. But in feedback conversations, we start with, okay, what's the behavior you do want, and how difficult it is for many people to answer that question. And so it brings about this mindset of interesting, and actually it brings people to for themselves. For themselves, it brings to clarity. What do I actually mean? Prioritizing goes better. What is important to me to get a more deep or a deeper answer to these questions, and out of that they can explore differences with others instead of judging them or trying to change or convince people. And it really brings about it brings people to the core of things, and hence getting more clarity, and hence getting a more sound, healthier interaction, a genuine interaction, and another view on differences. So the open mind to explore deepens the relation with themselves and with others. And the most important thing to hear is actually it's so simple. It's so back to, it's so about the core indeed. If I don't know what I want to say, if I don't know what is good leadership, I want to be a good leader. Okay, and what is that to you? Well, yeah, a good leader. No, what is that to you? And because you cannot communicate with them with vague messages, then they fill it in what is not clear. They will fill in themselves, and not that they judge you on that, but it's just okay. If it's not clear, what do I have to do with it then?
Yeah, so, and that's often what teams are saying. Is,
yes. Yeah. So to get clarity, but real clarity, and not we think, more or less overall. No, what's real? What is really there, and not more or less or overall of I think we are. It's going. No, what exactly is there? So it's very confronting sometimes. I call it care-fronting. Because it's you confront because you care about your own message and how it comes across with the others.
That sounded a lot around communication.
Yes.
With other people. What else would they learn from
in behavior? For example, they really if you pull a horse, then you are immediately confronted with what is happening in the relation. So it actually helps people to change their behavior on that. I once had a team in which we did a team exercise, and we started the team exercise, and the manager went to the horse, grabbed the horse by the halter, and said, "Okay, yes, follow me." And one of his team members said, "Yeah, you see, that's exactly what always happens." And for the first time, they were able to give words to what was there, and we started elaborating what is needed. What is needed to help people to say yes to you instead of pushing them in a gentle way, which is still pushing them. So it's really horses are very in the here and now. Also, for example, in exploring personal space and what you need in that, horses live in the here and now. So if you do it wrong, which is not wrong, but if you are not clear for a quarter of an hour, and then you have this okay moment, and you are clear, then they will say yes to the clarity there is. They won't say as people, "Hey, come on, for a quarter of an hour you're just fuzzing around. Now it's not. It's I'm not here anymore." So it really helps people to really do something differently, to act something differently, to really look at the very subtle changes, the very subtle things there are in behavior, in communication. Instead of thinking that they're clear, they are really invited to see the signals. That is,
okay.
And to change things in their own behavior.
So I guess we could take from this a number of lessons that organisations could learn.
Yes.
But I'd like to ask you the question: what you think, because you've had all this experience. What benefit is there to organisations from this kind of exercise of working with horses?
Doing away with self-evidence first. And
can you just explain that a bit more?
Yeah, and it comes back to this clarity of expectations, clarity in information, clarity in roles, and checking whether things, checking on clarity and checking on engagement, and um, yeah, getting rid of that thought I told so. So it has to be clear, or we once agreed upon this. So yeah, we signed it together. So yeah, it is clear. No, to constantly check in I won't say like horses in the here and now, but to regularly check the status quo. To regularly check, is it still true for now? Because with horses, you have to become. My aim is to become meaningful to a horse, but becoming meaningful to you in this moment can mean something completely different from next moment. So what is our frame? Do we agree on this? Is it clear? Do we agree on this? And to constantly check, is it clear? Are you still with me? And actually, what it brings to organizations and to people in general, but to organizations, I often work on three steps. What is your message? What do you want to say? What do you want to share? What is the desired state you want to reach? How do you bring your message out of yourself as you mean it? For example, if you think like that is not that is something we're not going to do anymore, and it's very clear here, and you bring it out like, well, as from now this might be slightly difficult, then you cannot expect people to interpret your real message. And the third is your own responsibility to check whether your message has arrived and whether your approach is okay and really comes to the results that you mean. So to constantly interact and not from time to time in a meeting, etc., but to constantly interact and get clarity and to take responsibility for your responsibility and ownership for your own messages and checking on the consequences and the impact it has on others. So that is that's what I call the most benefit, the biggest benefit is this connective clarity, but that's what I mean with it. That everyone is going to take his or her responsibility as herds of horses. It's not just a bunch of horses together. They all have their role and their interaction towards each other, and it's constantly it is checked upon. So I invite teams to become more of a herd instead of a group in which people do tasks, have positions. No, to find dynamic balance in team, in every here and now.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the issues that organisations have, engagement, everything you're saying sort of brings out this idea of engagement, giving people energy.
Yes.
And when you talk about herds, my thought was the agility that you bring to organisations as well. So if everyone is communicating well, checking back, is my meaning clear? Do I really know where I'm going, that actually you can be much quicker in the way that you do things.
It gets, and you needn't, that's what I see what happens, that it's with respect to motivation sometimes that people say that there's not enough motivation in our team. How can I motivate my team members more? And motivation is often linked with, or a synonym for, how can I convince them? And it's in a herd of horses. It's not about convincing to stay to the herd, but it's about being so so clear in what you do want to reach, in your destination that you want to go, that you become that you arise curiosity.
People want to follow.
For example, in a herd, the horses, it's your own responsibility if you join in or not. You only know that if you don't join the herd anymore, there's less chance on survival. Now I put it very black and white, but how to be so clear, how to set a frame, and how to balance between giving autonomy and leading people. Yeah, so that people, in their way, more or less, you can not always come to 100% engagement, but how to make the chance as high as possible that people feel a bit challenged to, hey, okay, how can I contribute to this? And that's what happens in a herd, and that's what I see. What happens is brings sparkles. Also, it's about agility, but also a more sparkling team, in which conflicts are dealt with in a very constructive way, and differences are, yeah, bring up more. Okay, that's another way. It's so it brings more sparkles, more openness, more more conflicts as well, but in a good sense. That people say that, okay, that is how you see it, or I see it differently. To more conflicts because people check on differences, not by judging, but by, oh, okay, that's not the way I saw it, but what are we going to do with this now? So it's agility, it's sparkles, it's being awake, batch.
Yeah.
And that's what alertness, being awake. But the being awake, it's one of the most beautiful characteristic I've seen in observing these horses in a semi-wild state. Because my mother used to tell me, be cautious when approaching a horse, because they run, they kick, they bite. And then I saw these wild horses, and the two most obvious characteristics were peace and being awake. And being awake, because just not about being over alert, is there a line, but and this very being awake state in organizations, that is really something. That's really something organizations would really benefit from. And it's not a theory, they see it happen here.
Sounds like a good title for a book.
Yes,
Being awake.
Being awake.
Yeah.
Book to read before you go to sleep. No.
Yeah. So other people watching this video are going to be practitioners of solution focus. Yeah. What do you think they would say they have learnt from you? Because you've met a lot of SF practitioners. Yes. What's been the biggest lessons that they've told you about?
Yeah, I have a symbol. Observed? I have a symbol for that. But that reinforces and makes people more aware of the importance of the. Oh, interesting. Of that, SF coaching is about exploring. It's about exploring and helping people find their own solutions, but by remaining in your core, you're moving towards your listening. You're keeping your attention 360 degrees. You help coachees find their direction. But from in the center, from the middle point of the radar, you are very, very awake, and you hear the opportunities in what people say, and go explore these opportunities. Because with horses, in working with horses, what doesn't work leads to nothing. If a horse is diving into the grass and starts eating, don't eat grass, doesn't work, because the nature doesn't understand no or don't. If I ask you, don't think about the rabbit, so yep. Don't eat grass.
It's a rabbit.
You really have to find what does work, and to look for that. And that's what horses.
Which is very SF.
Yeah, that is the thing with horses. You always have to be clear what do I want, what does work, what can we do with this situation over and over again. And you come in situations that, and as with as in SF coaching, you never know beforehand what's going to happen. There are, in the way I work with my horses, I don't work out of controlling them. I don't want to be on top of them. I don't want to condition them. To learn them to to behave in a specific way on specific signs. I want to communicate with them, and just every horse is different. I have 9 horses, and all have their own character, and then every day is different. So I never know beforehand what's going to happen. When I do a coaching, when I do a team coaching, I never know what's going to happen. I can only give subtitling to what I see, what happens between human and horse, and then we work on that. And that's with SF coaching as well. Leave it open, because everything can happen, but as long as you keep your horizon open and look for opportunities and help people find their choices, then everything, the magic can happen in every moment.
Yeah, and that's a lot to the guys from Brief talk about pre-assumptions, the pre-assumptions we have, and not pre-assuming that there is X is going to happen. Yeah. Because we don't know that.
I never know beforehand what's going to happen. So that's very nice, because then you also don't have to prepare that moment. It's all in the moment. It's great. You really need it with horses. And if you think if you have a scenario, it will. Or you have to push them, and that's not something you want to do.
No, absolutely.
Because it's so, as animals of prey living in a herd, they are so into the we communication. It's so, if you have if you invite them, instead of, if they dive in the grass, and people often react, horse, they react irritated, don't eat grass, and people are in the I and we mode, but if you see, okay, that horse is not saying I want to eat grass, but let's eat grass. So if you want to invite the horse to your message, you have to make your invitation, it's stronger.
More attractive.
Okay, so you want to eat grass? Hey, let's go over there. And it's our we messages. It's not about I and you. You have to go where I go to, and that's in SF coaching. It's we walk shoulder to shoulder, and we are not the expert. We can only listen to what's coming up and give direction to it, and that's with the horses just the same.
Wendy, thank you. I mean, your passion for this shines through, which is good. It's fantastic. I mean, it's been fascinating, just hearing all those different aspects of it, and I'm sure some people watching would maybe want to ask some more questions, but for now I think that's really given us a good insight, and certainly I now understand why you work with horses and SF. So
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
Thank you.